Hi there and welcome to another exciting session of training provided by Quicksoft. In this series of chapter, we are covering all the functionality available for invoicing in Oracle Receivables. We have done a lot of chapters so far and we are going to create some more interesting chapters also. Let me cover what we have done so far. We have done all this so far. Yeah, so this is what we have done already: invoicing, debit note, credit transaction, adjustments as well. Now we're going to cover some more chapters which are also very interesting chapters. So this is adjustments which we have done, so I can go through that. Now invoicing, the rules also we have done. The next one which you're going to do is, because very often you need to import invoices from some external system, because many organizations they have some legacy system where they generate invoices and we need to import those invoices from legacy system to our Oracle system. And even if you don't have a legacy system, during your implementation, at least once you have to do it for data migration purpose itself. Yeah, so what we're going to understand in this chapter is there is a file-based data interchange template available which we use to populate, and then using that template we can import using autonomous import functionality. I'll share with you what is the process required for this one, and how do you configure FBD template, and how do you fill it, and then finally go through stages to upload. Okay, we'll try to import few invoices and see how it goes through. Before we are able to do this auto invoice process, we need to understand what are the prerequisites we need to complete before we can complete this process. In the auto invoice chapter which I have shared earlier, I have given all the details how to configure this prerequisite. Just want to show you once again. You need to have a transaction source which is of imported in nature, so it knows that data is coming as imported invoice, and there are some fields in that file which needs to configure in that setup, which you need to configure to say whether you're going to send customer number or customer ID. All those I will show you that shortly. We have covered that in transaction source chapter, but we gave an overview only. In this chapter we'll cover in detail. We need to populate line transaction flex field. This is a flex field which is used to be able to recognize data which is coming from source system, so that if you need to sometime reconcile or refer back, you know how what is the information. Yeah, this is also available as part of the autonomous chapter. Then autonomous grouping rule and line ordering rule. These are for grouping multiple lines into single invoice. This is for how do you want to sort the data within the invoice. Yeah, so these we have already covered in the auto invoice chapter. Just wanted to share with you again so that you are aware. So how do you do this import process? There are standard steps. The process: you download FBD template from Oracle website. Fusion website has all these templates available. You populate the template. I will show you how you should populate the template, what are the field important for you. Yeah, and then once you populate template, then we need to generate the zip file and then run the file import export process to upload the file into Fusion system. After that, we need to run the load interface file for import process, which will actually take the data from the file and load it into the interface tables. Once that is done, then we run the autonomous import process, which will finally import data from the interface table to the actual invoice tables. If all goes through well, then finally you should have invoices generated, and then you can review the invoice in the invoice workbench. There can be sometime due to some data problem which you have in the data, sometimes it could be failure here, or failure here. Yeah, so I'm just showing you a perfect scenario, but you can have variety of failure. Whenever that error happens, you need to review the log file and fix those errors so that you can move forward. Now let me show you all this in action. Let me first show you transaction source again. Search for transaction source and go to transaction source here. Yeah, search for QS. Imported invoices. You should have a source which you have seen in a transaction source chapter earlier. This is imported invoice source. Type is imported, and then all these fields which are here, you need to provide a value. What for bill to customer, are you going to give value or ID, bill to address, bill to contact. So whatever you're giving, you have to specify. Yeah, so if currently for me ship to address is not valid, I've given none, but depending upon your data, you need to specify accordingly. Okay, for all this field, you should see what you are going to populate in the template and what you are giving here. It should match. Otherwise, if payment terms, you're going to give payment term name, but you put ID here, it's going to fail. Okay, so be careful when you populate these fields. It should be in line with your template data population. After transaction source, we have already populated our line transaction flex field created in the flex field. I just show you again for a quick reference. I go to receivable descriptive flex field. Then we look at line transaction flex field. You can search by line. This is a flex field. I will show you the one which I have defined. It's a context sensitive. All this is given in detail in the chapter which is auto invoice. You can look at that. Here I'm just showing you. This is a QS external invoice. This is my context, and these are two values: invoice number and invoice line number. Yeah. So once this is done, I've also shared with you guys. I'll show you later in the PowerPoint slide that the path from where you have to download the templates. Yeah. So you have to look at this file. This is available from the path which I have shared in my template. Then all the variety of FBD templates are available here. I'm primarily looking for receivables, auto invoice import. This is the template which you need to use. Click on this to download the template. Once you download, then you can open this template in Excel and we'll start populating it. I have downloaded the file and I've opened this FBD template. Now let me walk through each and every column in this file. You have to be careful. There are many columns which are hidden in this file. So you should be very careful when you're populating this file. I will also share this file as a sample when I share with you guys the recording videos. So you can use this file. Now let me walk through each and every column. This is your business unit name. Yeah, so you have to provide here. Then transaction batch source name. This is my transaction batch source name for imported. The name should exactly match. This is my transaction type name. Yeah, and that's what in my transaction source I given for transaction type. I'm giving a name, not ID. Yes, I'm giving a name here. Yes, you should also always set it to name or value, which is called name, so that because when FBDA templates are supposed to be populated by functional users, so they won't know the ID and what's the ID in the background. Payment term also giving a name, so this is the payment term. Transaction date, this is the format you have to follow for transaction date. Yeah, so make sure you follow this format, otherwise it will fail in the first stage itself when you're doing load for interface file. This is the date. I'm loading for 30th April. My accounting date is same, and because my transaction number is manual, I have to populate this. Yeah, if it is automatic, I don't need to populate this field. Now these three important field: bill to customer account number, bill to customer site number, sold to customer account number. Let me show you the customer master. Let me inquire the customer, then you will understand how I'm picking this value from where. I go to manage customer. I look for my customer QS. Okay, I'm looking at QS first because this is my customer. Yeah, so what they're asking for in Excel file is bill to customer account number, bill to customer site number, and sold to customer account number. These two are same. It could be different for your case. In my case, both are same. Let me show you how I'm populating the value. Yeah, so my bill to customer account number is this 41116. Yeah, and my site number is 104143174. This is what the values I'm taking and populating in the sheet. See, this is my bill to customer account number. My bill to and sold to is same. If you have different, then you populate differently. But in my case, both are same. And this is my site number I populated. Then here these are the line type which you need to populate. This could be line type of line or tax or freight or charges which you have. In my case, just a simple example, I'm just having a line type of line. Yeah. Then what is the line description you're giving? You can give the line description, the currency of the invoice, conversion rate type. If this is functional currency, the conversion rate type is user, and date is also this in this format, and the rate is 1. If it is foreign currency, then you can put corporate rate, and the date you don't need to put the rate. Rate system will derive automatically. Transaction line amount, line quantity, and selling price. And now this is the line transaction flex field which has to be populated. This has to be unique for each line, even in your database. If for this flex field, this combination is used before, your import will fail. Yeah, you will notice in this file there are many columns hidden. Yeah, so if you need those to bring back those columns, you should. If you're using tax detail, you should populate tax classification code for the line, so the system will calculate tax automatically. Unit of measure. Now I have different kinds of 3 invoices. I've also added one invoice with rules. So far for rules invoice and normal invoice everything is same, but additional field I have to populate this rule name, invoicing rule name, revenue rule, schedule rule name, number of period and start date. Yeah, this is additional information I have to populate. Also importantly, I have to populate the memo line for this line. For other line also I can populate memo line, but for this one surely I have to populate memo line, otherwise my revenue account will not be derived. So if you notice in the end, I populated memo line as well for this one. This is a very big file. Yeah, QS wine sales. This is populated for which line? So this memo line is required for system to identify revenue account code, and unearned revenue account will be coming from the transaction type. So all these fields you don't need to populate. So once this is populated, so this is our lines sheet. You notice there are a few sheets here: lines, distribution, sales credit, and contingencies. Yeah. So we are just using these two sheets at this stage: lines and distribution. If you have sales credit, you can populate the sheet as well. And if you're using revenue contingencies, you can also define those. But this is a very simple demonstration of this one. I'm just using lines and distribution. So what do we have to populate in distribution? We have to populate business unit name, same as. And then for each invoice, what is receivable, what is revenue line. If you have any other classification which you're also doing, you can populate that as well. So for receivable revenue, I'm doing it for line invoice 1 and invoice 3. Yeah, I've already loaded this invoice, so let me just change the invoice number first. I just make this 4, make this 5, and make this 6, and then here I also have to change this one also. I change this to 4, I change this to 5, I change this to 6, otherwise my import will fail. Now when I come here, now this information, let me correct it first, then I will explain. 4, 6, 6. Now for invoice number 5, which is based on the invoicing rules, I'm not populating anything. This will be derived automatically. But so what is the accounting for this line 1? Receivable account. You can put amount or percentage. So I'm just saying percentage. That means whatever line amount in the percentage, 100% goes into receivables. And then for this one, revenue also 100%. Yeah. So amount or percent. This is also given a transaction source for the imported invoice. For revenue, what I go to give amount or percentage. Now if I put amount but that is percentage given there, this will fail. Yeah. Okay. So now this is, then you can also provide, we have to provide these fields. This is how system is going to match the line. For this line context which is available given here, system will look for the same to match it here. Once it matches, it knows this is a distribution for that line. Yeah, one invoice can have multiple lines, then this will change for same invoice number. This can be multiple lines. Yeah. Once you're given this, then you also need to populate your chart of account. I've given the receivable revenue account codes, because in my transaction source I've said I'm going to give segment, not IDs. I've given the segment values here, which is easier to understand and populate also for the user. Yeah. So once this is done, then you can save this file, and then you need to do this. Go to the first file. There are also instruction how to do this. You can follow that, and then click on generate CSV file. This will create a zip file which will have all the data which you have populated in this file. Yeah, it loaded into, this is a file name. After this dancing finishes, your file is ready. Yeah, CSV and zip file have been created. Now the next stage is we have to do this process. Under navigator we go to file import export, which is under tools, file import export, and then here we go to plus sign, and then we say choose file. We'll pick a file which we have prepared. It's in the receivables, FBD invoice import. This is my file, and we have to attach the account. What is this for? This is under financial, fin receivables import. Yeah, save. This is the folder where the file will be located in the UCM. So Now file load is successful. Next stage was after file loading, I go to navigator again, and then I go to schedule processes, and I will have to run a program called load interface file for import. I go to schedule process. I run this program called load interface file for import. This is the program name. You can also search and pick it from the list of values. I say OK, and then I have to choose the import process. This is very slow. Even the click will take some time. Then scrolling in the sheet itself will take some time. So be patient when you after clicking on this one. Now the list has come. Even scrolling in the list can take some time. So be patient and slowly scroll. I'm looking for import auto invoice. This is the program I'm looking for. Yeah, and the data file. This is the data file recently uploaded. And then you click on submit. Sometime there can be some problems in the way you format data. Let's say date and all that, because it uses SQL loader to import data from the CSV file which you uploaded into the import tables. If there are rules given in that file as well, so if there are some format issues in a file of certain column, it will reject here itself, and this may fail. Yeah, if this fails, then you have to look at the output of this file, which will tell you what is the error. Then go to log. It will actually clearly show you what row, what value is failing. Then you should go and fix that thing. Let's wait for this program to complete. Once it's complete, that means the data has been loaded from CSV file into the auto invoice import interface table. The next step which you have to do is we have to do import auto invoice. This is a program which will import from auto invoice interface table into the actual invoice tables once the process is successful. I choose import auto invoice. Say OK. And here I have to choose my imported source, QS imported invoices. Yeah, and then I can leave all those field blank default. Then I can click on submit. Wait for this program to complete. Once this program completes, and if everything is successful, your invoices should be available in your invoice workbench. My process is completed. This in return submits an execution report to give you an output of what has happened. So I will look at the output. Three invoices selected, 3 process. So it's been successful. Yeah, so invoice creation is successful, no issues. If there's any issue, it will show you the error message and the reason also why it happened. Let me close this. In my transaction workbench, you will see now there are invoice number 4, 5, 6 has been created. 1, 2, 3 I had created previously. Now 4, 5, 6 has been created. Another thing which let me just inquire one invoice just to show you. Invoice number 4. Yeah, this was the invoice which I created. Yeah, so you can, it's been already completed. Invoice number 5 I show you, which is with rules. Invoice number 5. This is with rules, and also in the revenue scheduling I will see the schedule as well. Okay, invoice number 6 is a normal invoice. Yeah, this is like a normal invoice which you have. Okay, so now sometime what can happen when you import, you may face some errors which you need to resolve. Yeah, so when if there is any error, what you need to do is, and the problem is if there is an error, if you try to push data again and the erroneous data is still there, it will keep failing again and again. You won't be able to process that. What you should do is you go to manage auto invoice lines, download this template, enable editing, and then you can connect, give a user ID password, and then you can search on the screen for the data which you need. Yeah, so I'm searching for this particular BU. Looks like there is no data currently available because all have been processed. Now just want to show you something here. If let's say there's data which you don't want, you can just double click on that line, or this is the lines and this is for distribution, and double click distribution also. And if you double click here and click on upload, it will delete those lines. Yeah, so if you want to delete those lines, double click those lines which you don't want, those lines will be removed. Let's say some erroneous lines are there which are making your new process to fail, also clear those lines by doing this. Yeah, so otherwise if you're going to fix something in the line, then this flag will be ticked automatically. Then you can upload, the changes will be uploaded. After that you can click on submit. Submit will basically show you the same automatic import program parameter. You can just submit from here as well. Then you can see the status of that. This is a very useful screen which you need to use sometime when you're loading some data and you're facing some issue. Yeah, so this is for line and distribution. This is for sales, credit and contingency. If there are any, those will be shown into this sheet. Yeah, we don't have any those, so these are blank as well. So but when you try, I'm sure when you try first time, you're going to fail variety of issues. Fail in import, in the import auto invoice output, it will show you variety of errors. Then you will be able to see those error here as well in this error field. Then you can fix those and then upload that. If you make some change, if the fix is in the configuration, you fix and then you just can submit again. If the fix is in the data, you fix it here, upload the change and then submit. Yeah, ultimately once it's uploaded successful, the data will be deleted out. In this chapter, I've shown you the prerequisites which are required to be able to import auto invoice, import transaction from FBD template. I have shown you the how to download FBD template, given the path here as well. You can download using this path. And then how to populate a template. I explained you those fields which you need to populate. As part of the videos which I'll be sharing, I'll share those Excel file also, so you can use it for your reference if you need to. Then these are the processes you need to run to be able to finally successfully import the auto invoice. Also very importantly, I've shown you if it fails, there are errors in the import auto invoice process, then you have to download that manage auto invoice lines Excel file. Then you can review those things from there. Okay. So that's all we need to do as part of auto invoice. So in this chapter, we have covered a very important topic, which is file-based data import for invoices. This is very useful program which you will be actually using many times. One is during data migration, when you can basically have this template, share it with your functional user, explain to them how they have to populate this data from their legacy system. They can populate manually, or they can make a script if they have some IT team, and populate this data exactly the way you want. Once the file comes to you, you can just upload it and import it, and your data migration is over. There's no programming required for doing data migration, which you can use this. It's a very simple process, but the more the complexity of data comes, then the process becomes more complex, and because variety of data issues can come, which only once you are able to load one invoice successfully of the kind of varieties you have, then you will understand how to populate it correctly. Yeah, so you have to do a bit of learning, bit of play around with the data and see how it populates. But once you get hang of it, it's very easy to use, and you can import thousands of invoices successfully in the system. Okay, so with this we conclude this chapter. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and happy learning.